Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream.
Hey everybody, welcome to the show. I'm your host Sandman. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Southord electric pick gun. Let's get into it. First off, I don't think I can even call it a pick gun, electric pick gun in the title of my video because I'm sure I will get demonetized and deplatformed for using buzzwords. So that's why I'm just going to call it an electric pick. So it's an electric pick gun and that's all it is. This is my first one. These retailed for a little over $200 and I think I bought it on sale for like 150 bucks during some, I think it was like a Memorial Day sale. They have really good sales during Memorial Day, but I don't like any of their products at all. So Southord actually is not really known for selling great locksmith products. Southord actually used to sell like, knuckle dusters and push knives and stuff like that. I've got a whole like article on it from the 80s. These people were just like, it was like Arnold's gun room in the back of Soldier of Fortune magazine. And then now all of a sudden they're just trying to go legit and be a locksmith manufacturer. So or distributor of tools for locksmiths. So I'm not a fan of their products at all, but I digress. I have this product, it's $175. This is the point of the video where I usually bring out this whole printout and I read and, I explain the product. It's not needed. There's nothing in any of it that pertains to this other than that you can put rechargeable batteries in here and it has a 6-month warranty, which is garbage. It did come with this card that states, that you can have it rebuilt for $50, which is not terrible, actually, given the fact that it has a motor. That motor is going to burn out eventually after a couple years or shorter. I like that I can rebuild it for 50 bucks instead of having to buy a new one. But this thing is ginormous, man. It's huge. It's ginormous. It's ridiculously big. I don't even have something. Okay, here we go. So this is 6 inches. So let's do this right. So 6 inches to there, and then another 3 inches. So this is 12 inches overall. 12 inches. So unless you have space for this in your bag, I can't recommend it. Now, what is the positives to it? Why is this even on the market? I do believe that there is a difference between some of these. I would love to get my hands on the Chronos. I would love to get my hands on the Chris Dangerfield one from Lockpick World. There's a few others out there. I think, though, that a snap gun is going to probably be a good alternative to this and at a more affordable rate. I can get a snap gun for about 50 bucks. These are in, this is 175 bucks. The Chronos is like, I don't know, 250 euros or something like that on the low end. And so, but what is the benefit of this? Well, first off, I was very surprised to find that I spent 45 minutes product testing this in a previous video and it did not bend at all, this tip here. I'm very surprised that this tip actually held pretty good. So kudos to that. So the electric gun is going to be a little bit more gentle on the pins, and proof of that is the fact that this needle here is not deformed like it would be if I was using a snap gun. And it never occurred to me that a snap gun is applying so much force compared to an electric pick gun. So it's less aggressive, but we are restrained to the type of keyways. So as I found out in that product testing video, that I can slay quick set keyways, so very large, straight up and down open keyways with non-security pins, this thing does great on. But as soon as we start to add a little bit of paracentricity, did I just make up a word? Paracentric. So a paracentric keyway is a keyway that has warding that slightly overlaps to completely overlap. So highly paracentric, slightly paracentric, non-paracentric. So this Schlage SE1, which is like one of the most common keyways in all of North America, is going to be slightly paracentric there, slightly paracentric. And then, if I were to look at, let's say, my orange belt level lock here, which is going to be, I think that's like a Yale. I think it's a Y1. This is going to be highly paracentric. It has 2 wardings crossing over each other, almost 3. So, I mean, that thing is super hard. So this absolutely does not do well in those environments. However, I was so happy to find out that I was able to pick my Schlage C123 Schlage Everest lock here because it has a huge wide open keyway. I can't even say that it's slightly paracentric because it's such a big keyway here, even though it has a warding here to the right. And once I got some movement on the core, I just took another tool and I hit that that detent spring. I think it's called a, what's it called? Retention. I don't know. I don't remember. But what makes a Schleg Everest, you know, greenbelt lock is just that it's 6 pins, has really great tolerances, and then it just has that one little detent there. I don't know why my camera's shaking so violently. I don't know what's going on outside to cause the ground to shake. But anyways, I was able to pick a greenbelt lock with it, but I couldn't get any blue belt locks, and I couldn't get any other locks. The only thing that I was really able to get good were quick set and master locks. And let's just go ahead and demonstrate that. Now, for adjusting these things, you can adjust what's called the throw, which is the distance that this travels, you know, right and left, you know, whatever, fore, aft, however you want to look at it. And so we're looking at like a good 1/4 inch there. We got to tighten it up, and we want about an 1/8 inch per the instructions. About an 1/8 inch above where it seats normally, and so that's what we're looking for. Also, when there's any pressure on this whatsoever, it's not going to work. If you have any pressure whatsoever, it's not going to work too well. So if you have a super tight keyway, it's just not going to work, and you have to be careful about how you apply this to the lock that you're going to be working on. There we go, and we got an open. So this works really great on quick sets. But the second that you add a security pin, it just stops dead in its tracks. You cannot work through counter rotation on it. You just can't feel through it. You can't do it. It's just counter rotation is not a thing on this guy. I'm also, you know, hey, I'm doing my best to stay in focus here. I've got a lot of things going on, but let's work through it. I got a whole bunch of master locks. We're gonna see how many of these master locks we can get through in a specific amount of time here. I've got a few. And then that'll be it. We'll just conclude it. Overall, I think it's just a gimmick. I think it's a toy. Hey, you know what? That's not true. This could be for locksmiths or lock sporters that may have a physical hand disability. If I had a disability, I still want to be able to either for utility purposes get into locks, or for enjoyment get into locks. Maybe this is an option. Maybe this is. I'm pushing the button, but nothing's happening because there's The other downside is exactly how loud this thing is. It is. I don't like the sound. I'd understand if it made that sound while it was in a lock, but it makes that sound without it. I mean, it just sounds horrible. And so we say, well, it's not very sneaky. Well, not all lock sport is meant to be sneaky. I mean, a lot of this stuff came from locksmithing, and it doesn't have to be a covert entry tool. It's definitely an overt entry tool. So it does get these locks fairly easy. So I would say that this is for people with hand disabilities, in my opinion. Because I can open these locks so much easier without this, I think. With just a rake, single pin picking. I'm not going to get that one for some reason. It just doesn't feel right. Ooh, and the pick came off. All right, we're just going to do a couple more, and we're just going to end this. I think you guys get the idea. It's really great on low security level locks with just 4 pins or 5 pins. It's really great on locks that don't have security pins. And it's really great on locks that are not highly paracentric in the keyway. But that's the problem. That's where locks are these days. The first level of defense is a lock's keyway. Can it be, can you thwart the tools that are being made to go into these locks? That's level 1. That's why we see paracentric keyways at just yellow belt, but no security pins. And then the next level above that is paracentric keyways with security pins. And then we have paracentric keyways with security pins plus some other whatever pin, That's how we see locks in difficulty in locksport, but this thing just can only go after the low level stuff, the low hanging fruit. But it does go after the quick sets and the master locks quite well. And I'm very surprised and at that. Like, that was super quick. So this lock is actually picked, but there's something wrong with this core. I need to just throw this away. Yeah, I'm just gonna throw that away. I've been having trouble with some of these locks because I salvaged them, you know, took them off of lock bridges and stuff. Bridges that are now, you know, completely cleared of all their locks from the city, so. But you know what? It's not a magic key. It's not a magic key, and it just doesn't work on everything that's low level. But when it does work, you're like, wow, that was quick. I think this is great for locksmiths that are pressed for time. I think this is great for locksmiths that have hand disabilities. I think it's probably going to work in, I don't know how I would use this. I'd want to try this in cold weather conditions when I don't want to pick a lock, but I'm curious as to how this battery would hold up in that condition. Yeah, so I've got a couple masters here that I couldn't open. I was able to get all these. I think that's enough. So there's a place for it. You know what I would do if I worked for Pop-A-Lock, and I used to work for Pop-A-Lock, if I was not a crook, but if I was a businessman and I was pressed for time, I would pull this tool out. And I would try to pick the lock with this tool. And if I couldn't pick the lock with this tool and I couldn't do it with some hand picking and I spent 5 minutes on the lock, I'd say, ma'am, I've tried all my tools. The best route to go further from this point moving forward is to drill the lock. I am going to charge you for replacing the lock, but I'm not going to charge you for drilling the lock. An actual locksmith would charge for attempting to pick the lock. Then they would charge for drilling the lock. Then they would charge for removing the lock. Then they would charge you for the new product to replace that old lock. And then they would charge you for installing that new lock, and then they would charge you for rekeying that new lock to your old key so it matches your back door. That's what a locksmith would actually do, and that's probably where this would come in. I've never been a crook in my life, and that's not what I would do, but I would definitely use this as a tool for residential houses and padlocks, and I would use this as option number one, just to see if I can get a quick open. And if I couldn't, then I would move through the process of elimination, of trying to find the best way. And I would do that within 5 minutes. And I never really talk about that on here, but I have a whole process of eliminating the options for picking locks. Some people call it tactical lock picking, and I really love tactical lock picking, and I love the idea behind that. I have my own thing that I call practical lock picking. I coined that term sometime around 2014 when I was writing for the website Art of Lock Picking. And the idea is when you walk up to a lock, you know, I would probably try to use an electric gun or a pick gun or bump keys, and then I would rake it, and then I would try single pin picking. But the whole thing would be limited to just 5 minutes. I would spend 30 seconds to 1 minute with each different method of entry. And if I couldn't get in within 5 minutes, just ditch it all together and find a second way in or a destructive way in. So this would definitely be a part of the methods if I was a locksmith. I don't think there's a place in it for locksport, for this in locksport, unless you have hand difficulties. If you have disabilities, if you have hand disabilities, and there are quite a few of those people that are in locksport, and I love watching their videos. I'm subscribed to all of them. I think this is a neat tool that they could play around with, and I would love to see somebody pick high security locks or something like this. I don't think it's going to happen, but I would love to see someone try it. There's someone out there that just rakes locks. And they've gotten a lot of really high level locks with just raking it. It's very impressive. It's impressive to see what people are able to come up with. I will say this. I just dropped a tool. I will say this. When I was a locksmith in 2010, I think it was, I was taught by a female locksmith by the name of T.C. Deshane, and she has passed on since then. She died during COVID. And she taught me, I was an apprentice under her. She showed me that she didn't actually really pick locks. I don't know if she knew how to pick locks or what, but she was really great at using a pick gun, a manual pick gun, a snap gun. And man, I've seen her pick everything from white to blue belt. I used to see her walk up and pick interchangeable locks, icy cores, SFIC. I've seen her pick everything with just that pick gun because she has 30 years of experience using just a pick gun. So people can get good at using these tools. That's it. You know, you're only as good as the tool, but the tool is only going to be as good as how much time you put into it and patience and practice, everything else. I think this thing is so loud. I don't see me spending a lot of time with it, but it's a neat option. I think I would love to try it in a lock picking competition where if I had like 50 locks in front of me, I would try, you know, I'd go for all the low hanging fruit and just try to zip through them with just this before I started moving on to other methods of entry. So I think it's an option. I'm just not sold on it. And I'm definitely not sold on it for $175. This is a $50 tool at best. So that's what I think. Let me know in the comments down below. What are your thoughts? Do you think it has a place in locksport, or do you think it only has a place in locksmithing? Clearly does not have a space in the military tactical community. This thing's so loud. I feel like I should have been wearing, I feel like my ears are ringing and I should have been wearing earplugs. That's how loud this thing is. So let me know in the comments down below what your thoughts on this and thoughts are on this, and I'll catch you guys next time.
Mr. Sandman, bring us